Hello and welcome to Co-op Retro Tech. Hope you're having an amazing day. Got a little bit of a treat for you today, something that I've been looking forward to for quite some time. This might look like an Intel Mac Pro, but it is not an Intel Mac Pro. No, my friends, this is a PowerPC PowerMac. Yeah, if you've been keeping an eye on the retro tech community for a little while, for the likes of Action Retro and Crazy Ken from the Computer Clan, which I blame them for me wanting this. This is totally their fault. So if you've been keeping an eye on them for a little while, you are certainly aware of the existence of this line. But this is the first time that I am taking a look at something like that. I mentioned in another video involving my iMac G3 that I am interested in doing Linux PowerPC shenanigans, i.e. Action Retro, and I had said that I'm just not quite ready yet to do that. Specifically because I just wanted to run macOS 9 on the iMac G3. This machine is what I was talking about there with not being ready yet for PowerPC Linux. This machine has 2 hard drive connectors in it, which I believe are SATA. So, the idea here is that at some point, I'll be installing 2 hard drives in this machine, one for MacOSX, and then one for basically messing around with Linux. One thing though, right now, I don't know if this machine works. It does have RAM, and it does have a video card, which is connected to a display right now. But it doesn't actually have any hard drives right now. Which that's all fine and good. I've got some spare hard drives lying around. Ooh. Those sound like beefy fans, and there's a chime. Ooh, that optical drive didn't sound too happy. Keeping an eye on the monitor. Oh, here we go! We have display! And a blinking question mark folder. That is fantastic! Let's get a little bit more close up and personal with this PowerMac. Slap a hard drive in it, and we can figure out what to do on how to get an operating system on here. The neat thing about older Apple machines such as this one is that it's actually really easy to upgrade things in machines like this. That is something that you basically don't see anymore with anything modern Apple, with like maybe one exception. How do you get into a PowerMac tower? Simple. There's a latch on the side here at about this height. You pull it, and that should release this panel. And there is all of the PowerMac goodness. From here, we can see it is a single processor G5 unit. It's got 4 gigabytes of RAM, at least according to the eBay listing. And everything seems to be in fairly good shape, aside from the fact that there is no hard drive. If I remember correctly from the listing, it is a G5 processor, a 970 clocked at 1.8 gigahertz. I wanted to go for some of the processors that go for above 2 gigahertz, but the problem is that these PowerPC chips run very hot. So much so that a lot of the later models of this computer required liquid cooling. And those guys at this point especially are very well known for leaking. There is a couple of amazing videos by the Computer Clan that demonstrate that exact problem. That's something I want to avoid, especially with more proprietary machines like from Apple. Water cooling really scares me, at least in that regard. Let's get a hard drive in here, and I'll probably end up burning a disk of macOS 10.5. And we can start installing PowerPC MacOSX. I have a decent amount of experience at this point with macOS 9, but PowerPC macOS 10 is uncharted territory for me. I do have a hard drive available. It's a 5400 RPM drive, the one I actually pulled from the Mac Mini, actually. So it's not going to be super fast, however, it is the only drive I have at the moment that's not currently tied up in something important. And the hard drive I have, of course, has a slightly exposed circuit board, and since this is a metal case, I am a little bit concerned with that hard drive potentially shorting out with the case, especially since it's a 2.5-inch drive. So, I might have made a jank solution to that. Yeah, now that I'm really getting a good look at this machine, it's obviously gonna need to be cleaned, but I will worry about that off camera. I just want to focus on getting an operating system installed on here. So booting off a CD or DVD is off of the table at this time. However, we're not quite out of the woods yet. Okay, I managed to track down a copy of Debian 8.11 PowerPC on Debian's archive site. So I'm going to have that download for just a moment. Open. Is it going to let me open? Please let me open. Okay, cool. It opened it. Copy. And let's go back to the USB stick here and paste it. That should be at least a little bit faster. Okay, while I was waiting for that to happen, I figured out how to take out the super drive. Apparently, the metal tabs that were also underneath the super drive also had to be moved, and not just the plastic ones. Yeah, it's a little bit dirty. Which, I mean, not surprised. It's an old computer. That's old hat at this point. But what I'm more concerned about is the fact that the super drive is IDE. That's not going to stop me from attempting to repair this drive, which I will do at a later date. Oh, I can actually see what's going on right now. It might be a little difficult to see on the camera, but I can actually see that the belt is actually loose in there. There's a belt like right at the lip here. Yeah, I can't really make that look good on camera, but I see that there is a loose belt in here. So I will be able to repair this, assuming the opening mechanism is the only thing that's malfunctioning with this drive. Apparently, I have gotten to the point in technology nerddom that I had a whole hard drive sitting around that I actually forgot about. It's a little bit tough to see with this view here, but the files that I just copied for Debian 8 PowerPC, I've installed a 1TB SATA hard drive that I will be able to use as another volume. Because I have a feeling Debian 8 is not going to let me install the operating system on the device I'm booting from without extra partition work. So there's that. But I also actually don't know if this drive works, because I got this drive secondhand from somebody who probably abused the hell out of this drive. And by abused, I mean used it a lot, and it's probably on its last legs, even though it wasn't like dropped or anything like that. But who knows? Because as loud as the PowerMac was getting earlier, it will get louder without this piece properly installed. If any part of the case is missing, you best hope it's the aluminum side panel and not this plastic piece. Because without this plastic piece, the fans will run full tilt all the time, no matter what. So I'm going to hold down Option here, turn on the PowerMac. And we're going to see what happens. Okay. Step 1 completed. Now we just have to wait and see if anything will actually show up. Okay, so here's an update on the PowerMac situation. Just dragging and dropping the files from the Finder wasn't working the way I was expecting it to work, because it was making it so that the image on the hard drive couldn't boot. So I used Balena Etcher to one-to-one clone the disk image to that hard drive I was dragging the files to, so that in theory should work, but I don't know 100%. Yo! We have a penguin! We have Tux. Awesome! Okay. We're not SOL yet. Just gotta have to wait for it to finish whatever the hell it's loading. There we go. I'm not sure what just happened. Well, that's not expected. I'm just gonna assume that's not working. I'm just gonna let it go and see what happens. There's a decent chance I might have to wait for a new belt to come in from Amazon before I can actually start using this machine. Yeah, it's not liking that image. Okay, so doing that almost worked. And part of me wants to say that it would have worked if I would have been a little bit more patient. But my problem right now is I don't want to be patient. Plus, it kind of looked like it wasn't actually loading the Linux files, considering it was kind of just booting me back to the whole thing to begin with. So, my next idea is to use Rufus to do the same thing that I just did with Balena Etcher. And my reasoning with that is that Rufus is more designed to flash Linux images in a way that at least modern computers can use for booting off of live USBs. So there is a chance that whatever Rufus does to make that magic happen could make this work. If I have a copy of Rufus on here, I actually might not. I do not. One moment. So I just had a very frustrating experience trying to get Debian 8 to boot off of a hard drive. It just was not working. But suffice it to say that Debian just was not cooperating for a few different reasons. And then one of the reasons wasn't even the fault of Debian itself. Oh boy. So I actually made a post on r/vintageapple to see what my options are, since my SuperDrive doesn't work as of filming right now. And one of the kind peeps on that subreddit actually pointed me in the direction of something that I was aware of, but I had forgotten while trying to get this thing to boot. Sorbet Leopard. This is a modified and slightly updated version of macOS 10.5 that, among some other things, should let Sorbet Leopard run a little bit better, plus some other things that they've done to enhance the user experience of Sorbet Leopard. So this is macOS 10.5.8. And the beautiful part about this page on the Macintosh Garden is that not only does it have links for just general install media, this top link up here, this 3.8 gigabyte file, is actually a fully set up system which is exactly what I need. Now, I'd hoped to essentially do this, but with a fully set up Debian system, because I kind of wanted to do Linux first, but that obviously was not working out. So, of course, Balena Etcher didn't work for some reason. In theory, it should just work, but it didn't. So I was looking through the installation guide of Sorbet Leopard, and it actually recommends a software called Carbon Copy Cloner, which sounds like it's very similar to Balena Etcher, however, it's much older. From what I can gather, it looks like it understands the PowerPC architecture or whatever the hell that Balena Etcher isn't understanding. So I'm going to go ahead, do open anyways. It's going to complain that it can't identify the developer. Just hit open anyways. It should be fine. CCC 3.4.7 requires Tiger or Leopard. Okay, to get this to work on this platform, I needed to download a much newer version of this software. It's CCC 5. Unfortunately, this version is paid for, but there is a trial, so hopefully that should work. Disk utility, 16 gigabyte partition or larger, Apple partition map, cloning scheme, macOS extended journaled. Maybe that's why it didn't work earlier. It needs to be Apple partition map. I would have thought that Balena Etcher would already do that, but maybe that's something different? Question mark. Alright, looks like Carbon Copy Cloner is done cloning that drive. I am not optimistic that this is going to work, but never hurts to try. Alright, let's turn on the Mac and see what happens. Yo! I didn't expect that to work! Yes! Okay. We have a functional computer now. Awesome! This is taking way too long. God, I've been working for like 2 days off and on just to get this to start booting something. I was very close to getting it to boot Linux, but Linux wasn't cooperating because reasons. Maybe the Apple partition map thing was the only thing that was really screwing me over here. And of course, it's going to take a little bit to boot up because it's on a hard drive and not an SSD. Is it loading the welcome video? Yes, it is. There's an internal speaker. Okay, I gotta talk over this because copyright. And I'm very excited to start with all that. And it's still continuing the music. I think I'm just gonna mute the audio here. Unless it's not gonna continue. Yeah, it's gonna continue. Never mind. Okay, it's fading away. Gotcha. Okay, cool. Let's get started with PowerPC computing on the G5 generation of computers. I mean, this thing is almost 20 years old. It's like 18 years old at this point, but look at this desktop. Oh, my lord. Oh, and there's a Sorbet specific app store. Interesting. Ooh. Immediately I see my server. Can I connect? Can I connect? Ooh. It sees the server, but I think the Samba version is too new for this to actually connect to it. That's interesting. But we have a working system. Yeah, this drive might be dead. I might be able to resurrect it somehow with Ubuntu and redoing the partition map, blah, 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 that kind of stuff. But it looks like that bulk drive is not going to work for right now. In the meantime, I guess I'll just enjoy PowerPC computing. Linux is going to help me do some slightly more advanced stuff that I would kind of like to do. For now, I'm just going to leave this here. If you guys were in any way, shape, or form in a similar situation to where I am, at least being able to install a system in the way that I did, it does work. I'm not 100% sure if Belina would have worked if I would have double checked the partition map, but either way, it is possible to get a system going without having to install it through a CD. With all that being said, I think I'm just going to end the video here. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. If you'd like to see more, please subscribe. If you'd like to support me a little bit more directly, I have some cool music linked in the description below. And also in the description, I have a link to a Patreon page that starts at $1 a month. Speaking of the Patreon page, I have to thank my Kilo supporter, Indian Mac. Your support makes Cobalt Retro Tech possible. Thank you. Thank you for tagging along with me in this PowerPC adventure, and I hope to be using this computer a lot more and showcasing what you can do with a 1.8 gigahertz G5 processor well after it's supposed to be dead. And with all that being said, I'll see you in the next one.